Right, and easily missed. Right, so what have we got here then? We have the Bayangtoys X21 GPS quadcopter, which I've been looking forward to receiving. What else do you get in the box? You've got two sets of props. You've got the LiPo battery, which comes already in there, obviously not plugged in. You've got a mains charger. That charger plugs into this charger here via that port. Now it's pretty important to notice that when you unbox this you think, where is the charger? There isn't one. And just here, tucked in the bottom, is where they hide the charger, so don't miss that. You've got a little toolkit here with an Allen key and a little crowbar thing and a crosshair screwdriver. You've got the 4 prop nuts. You've got an FPV smartphone holder that clips onto the transmitter because this is an FPV quadcopter. And you've got the FPV camera, which is on a little shock absorbing mount. Unfortunately, this had become detached from the mounting bracket in transit and was bashing about in the box with no protection. Hopefully it'll be okay. And you'll also notice somewhere in transit the clips that hold this have been busted or lost, so I'll have to find some way of rigging that. You've also got the manual, which looks pretty good. List of spare part, environmental conditions, warnings about flying it, in restrictions and so on, and a leaflet with the QR code for the smartphone app, installation instructions for the app, operation instructions and so on. And of course you've got the transmitter, which will require 6 AA batteries. I've actually put 6 AA rechargeables. Hopefully it'll be okay with that. So the first thing you've got to do is install the props. Now if you look at these, they are marked A and B. 2 A's, 2 B's. And correspondingly on the quadcopter you've got A's and B's. Now it's very important to put these on the right way because otherwise the quadcopter will not fly properly. You'll notice it's got a little slot in there and corresponding flange on the brushless motor here, and it goes on just one way like so. Now you'll notice that the lock nuts that hold the props on the brushless motors are silver or black. The blacks screw on counterclockwise on the A's, and the silvers screw on the normal way, i.e. clockwise, on the B's. And you tighten them up with this little locking bar. Now this is pretty important. If you try and... one of my nuts was on when I actually got the machine and I tried undoing it the wrong way, which pretty important to know which way you're doing these. It's not very clear in the manual. But as I say, silvers go on clockwise, which is the normal way of putting a nut on a bolt. So like I say, silvers clockwise, i.e. normal direction, on a B. So when they're on, they should be opposite senses as you look across, and you tighten these the right direction with the little locking bar. Probably don't want to over tighten. So those both tighten clockwise, and these will both tighten anti-clockwise. And then finally the FPV camera clips in with this little slot here going into this slot here. Bit of a fiddle, but it just pushes in from the front into this slot like so. Actually clips in, clip just like that. And of course the plug plugs into this socket here. And of course if you've got a phone that this will work on, you can switch video on or take photographs and so on by using the app on your phone. And of course you can just, plus you can also adjust the angle of this like so. As I mentioned, unfortunately my phone doesn't have 5.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi, so this won't work with the app, but video I've seen looks very good from it. When you want to remove the camera, you've just got to push this little button in here and slide it forward. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, two of these clips seem to have got lost in transit, but that's quite a nice little anti-jello mount on that. Right, onwards. And the FPV smartphone holder is supposed to fit on the antenna here, according to the illustration. And maybe I'm being a bit thick, but I can't see how this goes onto there, and I'm certainly not going to force it. There's no way that that clips onto there. I've got a feeling that they've supplied the wrong fitting for this transmitter, but there is no way in a million years that that's going to slide onto that, because that's a square shape and that's a round shape, and it's just way too small. Anyway, so I'll have to get onto them about that. Hopefully you'll have more luck. So that is ready to go once it's got the battery in, because I've already charged this. I'm going to read the manual, figure out how to initiate this, which is very important. All explained on here, or if not, it is on some of the model forums that describe the process of setting it up. Turn it this way, turn it that way, calibration the compass, and so on. So come back to that in a minute. I've got a bit of a problem with shadows here because I'm outside in the sunlight, but before you do anything with the quadcopter, you have to calibrate the machine. It's all explained here. Needs to be followed carefully. Needs to be done outside, because you do need the GPS to be working. If you have any problems with it, there's some good discussion on forums, but it basically involves moving the throttle and the control different directions and making various movements with the quadcopter. So I've done that. Right, so let's take a closer look at the transmitter or controller. Two control sticks. This is called mode 1 because you've got throttle on the left and you've got the directional control on the right. These are trim buttons. Obviously that's the on-off switch. Center one here is return to home. This one turns it into headless mode. That one turns the GPS on and off. And these two are surround me and follow me. Now if you look more closely at the display, it's telling you there that you've got good signal strength, the GPS is on, I've got 14 satellites, and it's flicking there between showing me the quadcopter battery voltage and the transmitter battery voltage. That's compass, shows the orientation of the quadcopter, that's showing height and distance, and if it was moving it would show speed. Buttons on the top here, two beeps on there puts it into high rates, which means you've got more control if it's windy, and the button on this side, one long press and it will land wherever you are, like emergency landing, as opposed to this one which is return to home. And of course in the back 6 AAs. So to initiate, once you've actually fired it up, both controls inside and the props start spinning, both controls to the outside. Right, well, to actually start to fly, once it's bound or binded, both control sticks go inwards and downwards, and if you push the throttle up now, it will take off. If you just want to stop the props, both controls to the outside, and of course once you're done you need to turn it off. And it will still carry on beeping until you disconnect the battery. So it's about time we did some test flights, I think. Let's get up to the park. Right, so then here we go. First thing, connect the battery. Oh, tuck it in. turn on the quadcopter and very quickly turn on the transmitter. You've got to do that in fairly quick sequence. Now if we're looking at the transmitter, still looking for satellites. Once it's bound, these lights will stop flashing. Bound by, I mean, that means the transmitter is talking to the quadcopter. I'm still looking for satellites. It's got 9 any second now. The lights will go solid on the quadcopter, which means it's ready to fly. Now it's got 13 satellites and the lights are solid, so it's ready to fly. I'm going to put it into high rates, which is 2 beats on that, which means I've got more control, but although there's not a lot of wind today, so it should be okay. So to fire it up, first thing I'm going to show you is how the GPS hold works. Press both of these inwards. Now if I push the throttle up, away it is. And as you can see, it's holding. I'll go up a little bit more. Just to show you that it's holding, I go like this with it, pull it over here, it's going back. Now I've got manual control as well. I'll take it up a little bit higher. Got quite good speed, but it's holding altitude. And now if I press return to home, unfortunately my cardboard's blown away. If I press this one here, return to home, it's going to climb, come back over to where I was, and it's going to land right where it took off. And that's why it's beeping, because it's returning to home. And return to home is very accurate. Unfortunately the cardboard has blown away. But there you are, it's returned to home. I'll just show you, follow me. So as you can see, it is following me now. And it's swinging around a bit, pendulum. I mean, if you were on something fast like a bike and didn't keep stopping, it would not do that. So come out of follow me with one press, try surround. And there you go. It's now surrounding me. And it's also pointing the camera, if it was on it, towards me. It's going to keep surrounding me until I stop surrounding me. So I've walked away with it now. Let's see what happens if I press auto landing. It's actually going to land where the transmitter is. And it comes down very slowly. I like it. Comes down very slowly. Cancel that. Give it a little bit of height. And I mentioned before that on the display now it's telling me that height I've got is 3 meters. If I was actually moving it, it'd tell me the speed, and it says the distance is 4 meters, which is pretty accurate. So long press of this one and it will land. The only problem I found with this is it doesn't necessarily shut off the props very quickly, and if it falls over, which it didn't, so long press of that one is emergency land. It will land wherever it is, whereas center press is return to home. So let's initiate again. Nice and stable in flight. And of course as soon as you stop moving the control sticks, it will just auto hover with GPS hold. Now what I'm curious to see is if I turn the transmitter off, when I'm here, I'm kind of half hoping it's going to lose the signal and just come back to me. and it is. So that was turning it off. In other words, loss of signal, and it will return to home. I'm glad that works, otherwise I could have lost the whole thing. And you see how nice and slowly and gently it comes down to where it took off. I'll turn it on again. I'm going to have to bind it again now. Oh, interesting enough, when you turn it back on, it's immediately bound. So I think all in all that just about covers what it does. Very stable. I mentioned before, you've got compass which shows orientation. It tells me there that it's actually facing south. So I'm going to have a little bit more flying with it. Going to see what kind of height I can get here. Believe this might be geo-fenced, which means that it'd be limited to height. So let's see if it is geo-fenced. 38 metres there. I don't think it is geo-fenced. Well, that's about as high as I'd want to go, because I can still see it, see the orientation. Plenty of signal strength showing on the, that is 55 metres, and it's still showing plenty of signal strength. There is some breeze there, and it's struggling a little bit to hold position, because the higher I've gone, the more breeze there is. Anyway, I'll press autoland from there. And can you see it's coming over right on top of me? And it's descending 62 metres, 59. Interesting enough, you can take control of it again when you want by just taking control and stopping the auto return. But I think the GPS auto return is a great thing to have. In fact, I can stop it there and it's gone back into a hover. So if I press surround me, as you can see, it's swinging around a bit, but it's surrounding me really nice. It's surrounding me really nicely. So that's bottom button there. Stops around me. Press follow me, and if I walk towards it, it's going to walk away from me. It's trying. So let's see what happens now when I do return to home. It always climbs first. Oh, it's going to return to home. It's going to return to home where it took off, which was over there. I don't know if you can see that. So all in all, I like this machine. I think it's great. Good climb rate if you want it. Good descent rate if you want it. And very stable. It's swinging around a bit with the breeze, but all in all, and by the way, you shouldn't really be ever hovering a quadcopter this close to your face with spinning blades. You could take your eyes out, and these are powerful brushless motors on this. The flight time seems very good on this as well. and it's great being able to just center the stick and it will stay where it took off. It's going to land again. When you're landing this, I would advise come down very slowly, because when it touches down it's a bit reluctant to stop the props spinning if you land it manually. And if it falls over, in fact it's not even, it's very reluctant. In fact, that's a bit of a bug because it's not stopped them. Now what it needed was that one down to the right, but it was a bit reluctant to stop it there. So in a way you're better off using autoland, because it will stop, it will land and turn off when it touches the deck. Battery capacity now is 11.1, so I'm down to 20% of the LiPo battery. So I'm going to give it a short flight, see how well it auto lands. Get out the way a bit here. And in fact it won't let me take off now because the battery voltage has got too low. Right, well I think that finishes that test. That was a pretty reasonable bit of flying time there from it. I hope this is helpful anyway. It's a good little machine, looks well built and pretty robust. I've crashed it a few times when I've been experimenting with it, and it's taken it all, and plenty of spare parts available anyway from Bayangtoys. So that's that. Enjoy.